Sure. You want me to help you with? Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. This one will be our executive session of the Methuen School Committee. Today, June 22nd, 2026, starting at, this is 5:30, but it's 6 p.m. But it's now going to be 6:30 p.m. in the Media Center here at the high school. Please note, executive sessions are not televised or recorded. Madam Secretary, please take roll.
Member Bias?
Present.
Member Bias?
Present.
Member Donovan, present. Member DiZoglio?
Present.
Member Willett?
Member Willett is present but not connected to. Member Willett is still in the Zoom.
Okay. Member Soroyce?
Present.
Member Keegan?
Present.
Mayor Beauregard is not present.
Five actual presents, one virtual, one absent.
Absent, right.
Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Member Bias?
Yes.
Member Donovan? Yes. Member DiZoglio?
Yes.
Member Willett? Okay. Member Soroyce?
Yes.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
And Mayor Beauregard is absent.
We'll stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any public participation for the executive session? Seeing none. We will go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session in the preparation for negotiation with the non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, in this case, the interim superintendent. We will reconvene in open session at the conclusion of the executive session, so our 6:30 meeting will be pushed, and we're hoping to be on before 7 o'clock. Thank you.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Please.
Member Bias?
Yes.
Member Donovan, yes. Member DiZoglio?
Yes.
Member Willett?
Yes.
Great. Member Soroyce?
Yes.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
And Mayor Beauregard is absent.
6-0.
Okay.
We will now go into executive session. Thank you.
That's the sound of an American oil company hard at work.
of executive session and convening into our special meeting of the Methuen School Committee tonight, Thursday, June 18th, 2026. The time is 7:12 p.m. Please note that you can watch the event live on Channel 6 Comcast and Channel 31 Verizon, and it will also be live streamed on the MPS Events YouTube channel. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available for viewing on the Methuen Public Schools website. Secretary, can you please take roll?
Vice Chair DeZoglio?
Yes.
Donovan Grassi, present. Member Baez?
Present.
Member Keegan?
Present.
McCarthy Royce?
Present.
Member Willett?
Yeah.
And Mayor Beauregard.
601. Passes. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
I'm sorry, who
Donovan
seconded?
and Keegan.
Thank you.
Okay. Vice Chair DeZoglio?
No.
Whoop, excuse me. Donovan Grassi, yes. Member Baez?
Yes.
Member Keegan?
Yes.
Member McCarthy Royce?
Yes.
Member Willett?
Yes.
And Mayor Beauregard is absent.
All right, that passes 5-1-1. Let's stand for the flag salute. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public participation?
Good evening. My name is Jack Burke, 49 Cannabiola Road in Methuen. And I'm here to talk about the policy subcommittee. I'm more than willing, I'm just a concerned citizen, but I'm more than willing to work with you to help rewrite some of the older policies. I've been looking at this now since the whole budget thing debate happened. And I didn't want to get involved with let's steal money from here and move it there and do this. I saw it as a larger problem, that the policies were aged and they weren't consistent with what you need as committee members to do your job effectively to help the administration do their job. So that's what I want to help with. Now, I will admit, I use AI, and anything I send to you, I always give the caveat that I recommend you speak with a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a retired hardware engineer who spent 30 years in the semiconductor industry. But I had 3 of my 4 children attend Methuen schools, and I have grandchildren that attended Methuen schools. And so I'm interested in everyone in Methuen getting an adequate education. And that's what you're here to do, to make sure that we create policies that do that. So I noticed that for tonight's meeting, it was the I series, I believe. And so I saw one item, which was II2B, and I read it, and I was appalled that it starts off by quoting a 1972 census. I said, well, where's the census? And then it dawned on me, why do I care? It's 50 years ago. So my next question was, where is the student-teacher ratio for all the current grades? Because that should be in it. And I didn't find any of that. And then I did write a new proposal, and I sent it to the subcommittee. And I'm here tonight because I read that tonight you're going to propose that we don't even have that policy anymore. You're going to delete it. And I don't think we should be deleting policies. We should be in the business of rewriting them to make them current, make them accurate, and make them traceable back to the committee through the administration. And so I noticed that on IIB, the MASC says that you should file a policy that emphasizes class size on the basis of meeting instructional needs of students as well as any constraints imposed by state law and negotiated agreements. And I agree. And I don't see why we didn't just cross out the census data and ask for the student-teacher ratio and put that in as a start. Anyways, the bottom line here for me is I will gladly continue to work with you. And we won't always agree on what I propose. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm going to leave it up to you. If you'd like me to continue working and sending you data, I'll do that. If not, just feel free to say, no, go away, Mr. Burke. Have a nice retirement. Take a trip somewhere, nice and warm, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Anyone else? If there is anyone else, and you are not here to participate, you can also reach out to Susan Secante at .ma.us before 3 p.m. of the day of the school committee meeting, and we'll read it here. So I'll close public participation onto the MASC policy review and approval.
Motion to approve Section I as presented and rescind all previous policies regarding Section I.
Second.
Roll call, discussion. Before we get into discussion, I'm just gonna say that this should not be the way we're doing it tonight. I didn't get this packet until 3:35 delivered to my house yesterday. It was not posted with the agenda. And by the way, I didn't get home until about 8 o'clock last night, where it was emailed to us too. So none of us who are on the subcommittee, not on the subcommittee, had a chance to review this thoroughly. And to be fair, in a subcommittee, what should happen is they come and present, have a presentation and review that policy changes, and then the next agenda item be to vote on it. For us to be just saying, hey, let's vote on it without actually doing a thorough review of this from a committee standpoint and not having the mayor here either is not the way we should have done this. So I would actually prefer that we entertain a motion to table, have the subcommittee present at the next meeting, do a actually, this counts as a first round reading if we table it at that point. But then you could also table again at the next meeting too, if we have any changes that we want to come back to, or if anyone has comment. But doing it this way, with some of us only having it for less than 27 hours, is just not the right way of doing it. So, I'll leave it there. Yeah, go ahead.
I have a question and then a comment. So I'd like to ask the subcommittee, is what before us the recommendation of the committee a consensus? Because our last go-round, I don't think was purposeful and productive, because I never felt it was what the committee as a whole wanted to move forward with. So perhaps Chair Baez, I know we have two other members here, could you explain to us what we are seeing before us, if it's what you are all in agreement on?
Yes, Secretary Donovan.
So I'll recognize Member Baez.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Vice. Secretary Donovan Grassi, I had some opening remarks regarding the process and how we were deliberating and came to agreements on these recommendations. And one of those opening remarks is stating that during this presentation of the policies that follow the same structure in terms of how to go through them that you guys did in A, B, and C, in terms of a motion to approve and then going through each one and then amending them as needed, having a discussion and answering questions on each individual policy that questions that may come up. But part of that is understanding that my role here as chair of the policy subcommittee is facilitating the recommendation of the committee, not my personal beliefs on these policies, but the recommendation of the committee. Now, to be fair as well, there really hasn't been conflict and challenge in terms of recommending these policies. We have debated thoroughly, purposefully, and with time to come to an agreement on each and every policy that we have before us tonight. And each of these policies, the recommendations have passed 3-0 on all of them. With respect to the comments of the vice chair, I will say that the policy subcommittee has been meeting every single week with Zoom links posted, with agendas being posted, with adequate time of 48-hour notice for meetings that we have on every single meeting. And we wanted to make sure that Section I specifically gets passed and approved. And if you notice, to the other members, if you notice, we didn't motion to approve in form, which would have stalled the approval of Section I until all sections have been finished. In fact, what we did is we created a motion to approve in general, just so that the administration has enough time to put these policies into the handbook, update the handbook, and make sure that there isn't any conflict, as the administration has voiced concerns of policies that have been passed that are currently conflicting. And we want to make sure that the handbook is updated in terms of Section I coming up before you tonight with the first read, and June 22nd at our regularly scheduled in the calendar business meeting for a second read. But again, all of these policies come to you in unanimous consent from the policy subcommittee. My remarks on each policy, be it a 1-minute remark and then answering questions or noting any substantial changes to these policies, will be in the voice of the policy subcommittee, not as my own thoughts and recommendations, albeit we are all in agreement. And finally, to close off these opening remarks, be it known, and with the videos posted and everything, people could see that the discussions have been thorough, thoughtful, sometimes intense, but at the end of the day, with a true understanding of what is the policies doing in the past, in the present, and most importantly, what it should be doing for the future. I hope that addresses your question, Secretary Donovan Grassi.
Yes, it does. Thank you. And thank you to the committee. I know this is tedious work and important work. May I ask one more question, Chair? To the superintendent. I know time is of the essence because this is information that we'd like to include in our policy handbook, our parent handbook. Can you give me an idea of what the schedule is to get this ready?
Typically, that work is done over the summer by our associate principals who head up those projects. They are now on a different work year, so over the summer it will be in part of the associate principal's role, but also the supervising principal's role, that we hope to be able to work on those handbooks and bring them to you for our August meetings for approval.
Thank you.
Member Royce.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I also just want to mention, I don't believe Member Baez mentioned it, that we held no subcommittee meeting without the three of us present. And we also held no subcommittee meeting without the acting superintendent and Alicia Mallon from MASC. We were all present at every meeting. If one of us couldn't attend a meeting, then we canceled the meeting and then postponed it or just continued the next week. But we have all been in agreement. Alicia Mallon has given her recommendations and we've given her concerns, and she's very knowledgeable about policies in general and the laws in Massachusetts. The acting superintendent has also taken on the role of taking some of these policies and talking to her administration as well as other members of the school committee to make sure that anything that we had a question about was thoughtfully discussed and would bring back her recommendation as well. So it wasn't just the three of us that were involved. There were also the acting superintendent, Alicia Mallon from MASC, and then, like I said, several other school committee members and members of the public, if need be, from the library. Thank you.
Member Keegan, anything on your end?
My understanding for tonight was that, it's the motion to approve, and then we go through each individual one, present it, have a discussion about it, and hear what people want, if there needs to be changes based on what people are saying. So this is the presentation, and if we postpone that to our general meeting on Monday, that's going to take up a lot of our time on Monday, and we have other business to do. So it makes more sense to me, instead of tabling it as the first read, to actually go through them, have some discussion, and move on.
Member Willett, anything on your end?
I mean, I understand both sides of the equation, but like I'm leaning towards the vice chair. If you did not have enough time to review the packet and the mayor is not present, and if it's due to a conflict, and in terms of continuity of leadership, unfortunately, he has not been able to attend the meetings. I'm not perceiving a sense of urgency of reviewing these policies. The acting superintendent indicated that August is their tentative deadline to publish the handbooks for us to do final approval. So you're talking about the remainder of June going into July. I'm flexible with my schedule. We usually go into our summer recess in an abbreviated schedule anyways. I think there was some concern because of the holiday tomorrow in terms of the open meeting concept. If we would need to do a postponement to Wednesday, we're trying to ascertain that front. So I would err on the side of caution. And as you indicated, Vice Chair, based on our parliamentary rules, a motion to table would equate to a first read. And I did not perceive a huge agenda at our next meeting anyways. So if we go right into a prior executive session and then go into our main body, we were delayed tonight, unfortunately. I would feel more comfortable, given those circumstances, to table. But again, it's based on the fact that the mayor is not present, and also the vice chair, according to his own testimony, did not have enough time to review the packet. And then we also have questions about the open meeting concept as it applies to the posting and tomorrow's holiday in reference to next week. So that's, in all deference to the committee, I'm not questioning the subcommittee. I'm not casting any darkness onto what they accomplished. I might have disagreements with some of the policy language, but that's a philosophical discussion. But I think in just terms of procedure, and also there's really no sense of urgency, I would feel more comfortable doing a motion to table. It would constitute a first read anyways. But I understand both sides of the equation, but I'm leaning towards that because of what the vice chair indicated and the fact that the mayor is not present, and give him an opportunity to be present on these major policy discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just state before anything has gone to the next round of conversation, is that when did MASC review this and send it back? Does anyone have that answer?
So we have a live living document of Section I draft with changes, which is one of the copies that you have. In essence, if any amendments were made today, our acting superintendent has the ability to change that. And so that has always been in the district's possession, is draft with changes. The clean copy, which is the one without the red lines that you have in hard copy, that was given to us yesterday morning, if I'm not mistaken.
So, and was that with MASC signing off yesterday morning that this was the clean draft?
That's
Yeah.
what MASC sent yesterday morning. We had another subcommittee meeting yesterday as well, following with MASC.
So that's why I'm being very particular on this, is that we booked this meeting without the documents being presented to the committee under 24 hours, or under 48 hours. It was 36 hours, if that.
I did inquire with Alicia Mallon from MASC about that. I asked that specific question, if when the posting goes up with more than 48 hours or more notice, do the materials and resources and links also need to be on there? And she said no, as long as the public and the committee have access at the same time. That's fine to do. It's the posting and the content that needs to be up within 48 hours, because I had the same question. I believe that was the end of our subcommittee meeting. I just verified that with her.
Did we verify with Mike Maccaro at all? Because I'm curious if we would have a different point, because for us to be able to review, we need 48 hours to do that. That's the point of the 48-hour rule, is that we need to review within 48 hours. So my only concern here is, well, no, I don't want to move the question for two reasons, because if there is not going to be a vote tonight on this, and we're going to table it, why not go through the changes? I have no questions. I'm not going to, they can present tonight if they want to, in my opinion. They could present if they want to present, but we don't have any questions. And I can continue to table this even at the next meeting until we have all of our questions met. So it's up to the body if they want to motion to table, but I'm also given the opportunity here tonight, if there is a presentation, because I didn't realize there was a presentation. Is there a presentation?
Yes, we'll be going over each policy and going over substantive changes and then taking questions if there are any based on that.
I have no questions because I haven't been able to review it. So if there is a motion to table, I'll entertain it. If not, I will let member Bias continue with reviewing. But again, I'm only as good as the body. I am not dictator in this.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Mr. Willett.
I'm very leery about this because I have a deep respect for the subcommittee. But I think there's lingering questions that you presented and then deference to the mayor. I'm going to make a motion to table. I'm not sure if it's going to be successful.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call. Any discussion on the table? Actually, I can't do that. There's no discussion on a table. Sorry.
So I'll take a roll call.
Please.
Hold on. So, Vice Chair DiZoglio,
Yes.
Donovan Grassi, yes. Bias?
No.
Keegan?
No.
Saroyce?
No.
Willett?
Yes.
Okay.
It fails.
Okay.
So whatever happens going forward is at the basis of the school committee. So I can't control what the public does. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yep,
I'm going to be departing from the meeting.
understood.
So I just want, okay, thank you.
Thank you. This is acting superintendent.
I just wanted to note that I did ask the chair, the mayor, if he preferred to postpone the meeting when you brought those concerns up, and he notified me this morning that he was on board with the meeting proceeding, although he would be unable to attend. So I just wanted that noted, that I did give him that respect, since the chair does set the agenda. And then I believe Member Baez wishes to proceed with the presentation, if that's the will of the committee.
Go ahead. You got the will of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Vice. And I'll note that my vote no tonight is to, since it is the first read, we might as well go into the review. So I'll start off with our first policy, file IA, educational philosophy, and you'll see that it has been stricken along with the following two policies. But in essence, the first policy has been rescinded due to the fact that it's an aspirational document. We have decided as a policy subcommittee to rescind aspirational documents in lieu of the fact that we had a vision of a graduate, we have an uncertainty in the superintendent position, and in general of where the leadership and identity of the schools were headed. So in lieu of that, what we have decided to do is rescind educational philosophy and all other aspirational documents, so that we could come back to them in a later date to identify the strategic plan of an established superintendent, the vision of a graduate, and put it all together with grassroots support on perspectives from students, from educators, from families, on the educational philosophy and all other aspirational documents of the committee. And so the official recommendation of the policy subcommittee is to remove file IA. That goes along the same lines with file IAA, the statement of philosophy of primary education. Along the same lines, these are aspirational documents with value statements that we have decided as a policy subcommittee would be more beneficial to come back to any time where the not only leadership but the strategic plan, vision of a graduate could all come together, and we could create a document that is holistic in what is the educational philosophy of the Methuen Public Schools. And finally, in terms of these three documents that were considered in that aspirational lens, file IAA, E1, E2 are all in the same realm. And now at this point, if anybody had questions on these philosophy documents, value statements, not only myself, but my colleagues and the acting superintendent are all willing to answer. But the rationale for the official recommendation to rescind is the fact that they are aspirational documents. And we thought that it'd be best to rescind them for a future date. And Mr. Vice, since I am on the edge and you kind of can see everybody, if there are any questions, please feel free to just interrupt.
Any questions on behalf of the members? No? Okay.
Okay. So the next file is IB, Academic Freedom. This is a MASC policy, and so the official recommendation of the committee is to adopt. We thought that it was pretty straightforward and actually quite nice to have this policy in place to make sure that we're respecting the rights and acknowledging the Constitution of the United States. If there are no questions on that, again, the official recommendations is adoption. The next file is IC/ICA, school year/school calendar. So what we have here is we will be rescinding our Methuen school day policy. Adopting this policy would combine school day and school year. And so there wasn't any substantive changes to this file, IC and ICA. We would rescind our school day and then adopt, again, under that file ID, school day, is recommend adoption with the change at the bottom. Administrative and staff hours will be posted on the district website. This decision was made after a discussion on the fact that the subcommittee liked that the original policy had the times on them in terms of the on days, school days. The policy would go into place of 5 p.m., 8 a.m., 4 p.m. So we wanted to keep that, but give time for people to, or give space for that to be open to interpretation and guidelines. So I'll go over that again because there's 3 policies here that are being moved around. The first one is file ICA named School Year and School Calendar. What is going on is we're adopting this policy that will replace one of our school calendar policies and then
As I see here.
move into
I know, but
school day as well. I feel like that was a little confusing, but is there any questions?
So where's ICA in here? Because I don't, in the red line packet.
So ICA is the new policy from MASC, school year / school calendar. It's file IC/ICA.
Okay, I get that, but didn't you just say we're taking 2 policies and we're getting rid of 2 policies and we're moving it under one?
So MASC notes at the bottom, when a policy covers 2 topics that appear consecutively in the classification system, the codes and headings can be combined as shown at the top of this page. So what is happening here is that the 2 topics are being combined. The one that we're removing is school day. And so we have another policy under that, file ID, also called school day. So the concern that you're bringing up is that they're in the similar topic area, but they're different policies, if that makes sense. And again, the substantive change here would only be in the file ID, administrative, in the red line, administrative and staff hours will be posted on the district website, just to keep into account some of the things that we liked from our previous policy.
Any questions from anyone?
So file IE, organization of instruction. This is our original Methuen policy, and our official recommendation from the subcommittee is to keep this policy. I am assuming that there might be questions about this, so I'll open it up.
Didn't we just say we're getting rid of ID?
There's no IE.
IE.
Yes, IE. Our recommendation is to keep IE, which is organization of instruction.
Go for it.
Okay, so my question is, why is preschool not included in the 3 levels? It says lower school includes kindergarten through grade 4. Was that done intentionally?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I actually had the same question, and there was a very good discussion about this. This doesn't work. There was a very good discussion about this because preschool is not mandated except for special education, and our lower schools actually do not include preschool. It's its own building and its own unit. So our lower schools are actually K to 4, and that's why.
I guess, okay. I don't know. I just, they're part of our community, but, I mean, I don't want to nitpick, so thank you for that answer. Appreciate it.
Quick question to the superintendent,
Mm-hmm.
because this is one that I would have. Are the teachers in the preschool union?
UDA, yes.
So I don't know why we wouldn't include them. I think that, I mean, they're union teachers promoting education in the preschool, and we do have it in our day-to-day, which they're still part of the school, and I even would argue that we do more than just that, because we also have Little Rangers too, which I would assume they're also staff.
Not Unit A.
I know they're not.
I would
Unit A,
recommend,
But,
if you're interested in adding that, I would recommend not including them in this section called lower school, but maybe an additional sentence encapsulating that idea.
I mean, I'm fine with that, I mean,
Noted. Yeah. Thank you for that question.
But, so, quick question, is that a motion to enter that into the record, or do you?
If you
wanna-
would like to make that motion, I would happily accept that, and we could,
Or do
assistant, the acting superintendent has the ability to make that live change if need be.
Or would you like to go through it and then next meeting make the change?
So I could
No,
note,
this question's for Member Donovan, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what the best policy is as we go through this. Do we have to vote? I'm trying to remember what we did last go-round. Do we have to vote
So,
on any proposed
I
changes?
So what we would do is we would vote to accept as amended with the changes. And then the second read, we would have those already put in, and then we would vote to accept as it is. So it would be more helpful to have the changes on first read so that we can, second read, have it be clean.
And my question, to follow up, so the discussion about preschool, was that at the recommendation of MASC not to include preschool?
Yes, it was, because DESI defines education starting at age 5.
Right, I get it.
And so
Yeah.
it was their recommendation.
I understand that. It just seems peculiar to me. So, yeah, I would like to make a motion that we include preschool in a separate line, just identifying that they are that group is a member of our organization of instruction.
I'll second that.
Can we say,
So-
Ken's gone, so we could do.
So I just want to, the way we need to word it, though, is that our preschool program is a special education program because we are not offering preschool to all students. So if we have the organization here that says we have preschool,
we have to
we have to
identify.
identify that it is not open to everyone. And that's why we
Gotcha.
excluded it. Because it's not open to everyone, it's only open to special education students.
Okay.
So I'm wondering in that third paragraph, which is also a single sentence, special education services are integrated across each grade level in all schools, comma, including preschool?
I'd be happy with that, thank you.
Would the,
Go ahead, Member Bias, can continue unless there's other questions.
no, I was just saying that if we had to vote, we need to,
Oh, didn't we do, oh, I'm sorry. Didn't
No
we-
worries.
The motion in the second?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we don't need roll call anymore.
Aye.
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 No. It's 4-1. Yeah,
Yeah,
so it still passes. Yep. All right, Mr. Bias, continue.
Thank you. So the next file is file IGA, curriculum development. So again, this is one of those files that we're proposing to rescind our original one and adopt MASC with the changes that we have to them. So then under that redlined is IGA, IGD, curriculum development and adoption. There was no changes to the model policy, and so we have the recommendation to rescind ours and adopt MASC's. So there's that. There's no questions to that. So file IGB, we recommend adoption as well. The red line is just changing the title to Acting Superintendent of Student Services. This is a very straightforward, again, this is nothing too substantive.
Again, we're going through this, and I'm coming up with questions that I'm going to save for the next meeting, because going back to IGA, we do not oversee the development and adoption of instructional content. We approve budget and instructors, which then the superintendent and her team build that instructional curriculum. We approve the book, but we don't create that. We do not cut, we do not make recommendations that get accepted. So I don't know how we can say the committee itself will consider and officially adopt new programs and courses when they constitute an extensive alteration in instructional content or approach. That is saying that we have actually done that.
The key phrase there is the extensive alteration. So you would have the ability to say the district wanted to do something drastic and say eliminate science or change the way that we're teaching literacy and that we're hypothetically suspending the instruction of that until grade 4. Something that was completely outside of what's been the norm, that would be within your purview. But considering the adoption of one publisher's program or another, that would be the district.
I mean, even you cutting science, I don't think is legally law binding, but I mean.
Just to give you an idea of something dramatic.
That's what I'm getting at is like, I don't see this situation ever really coming up. Have you any examples of us ever drastically altering? Because if you cut theater, I can then overrule you on that? If you cut that curriculum in the future?
Well, you do approve the budget, so if that were in the book and you voted on the budget, that would in essence be supporting that. But it would, I think Member Keegan has.
So every year, we get presented with the course of studies, and we have to approve new courses. So for instance, when sign language was brought up, we had to approve that because it was drastically different curriculum. So yes, if there's new courses that have never been taught before, we have to approve them.
Yeah, you approve the book, but that's not what this is. The committee itself will consider and officially, like we're considering it. I can't go to them afterwards and say, cut sign language. Like, we just don't vote on it. But that's their instruction. They have a budget for it. They have aligned the budget to it. So, for instance, like if you come to me and say, we're cutting theater, I can't say you're cutting theater. Like, I can't literally come to you and say, cut theater. And we vote on that. Like, you've budgeted, that's your curriculum. You've built that into the structure. Mm-hmm. Could I cut $100,000 next year out of your budget somewhere? And then that was itemized pretty much towards theater, but you can allocate your money anywhere you want to bring that instruction to Methuen Public. So even if I say no to a curriculum of study, all right, that you've now put, as long as the budget passes and you've adopted an actual program book, because again, the study book, I can't go in and cut sign language, I can't cut English. But if you add English classes in there, okay, in theory, I could say no, but again, you have a curriculum to put it somewhere else in English. You already have English.
Right.
So I'm just saying, I think this is putting us in a position where, I'm not gonna lie, we're overstepping in curriculum development. We're not experts in curriculum development. You are. We're supposed to be experts in where the budget goes. So I'm just, again, these are questions that I would pose at the next meeting that we can get some answers on. But if you're saying you're fine with this, it's at the will of the council. Committee, sorry.
No, I appreciate the comments, and certainly we do need that latitude to be able to make changes as we see fit. But I did want to protect the committee's right, as recommended by MASC, when it's an extensive alteration, which again, I think that the issue there is there's some subjectivity to what that could be perceived as. perhaps we can become more explicit in what is meant by that.
Any
Mr.
questions?
Just a comment on this, Mr. Vice, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. It also states at the beginning of that paragraph that the superintendent will have authority to approve new programs and courses of study after they have been thoroughly studied and found to support educational goals. So that second sentence on the committee itself will consider is in reference to when new programs or courses of study are presented. So it's not like tomorrow I could say, let's cut theater. It's in reference to that first sentence of the superintendent has the authority to approve new programs and study courses of study. So I just wanted to make that note. And if you would like to, if again, just of a note, you could always amend the section I and make a motion to rescind the policy if that is your wish. And it'll be at the will of the committee at that point. But just wanted to give you those two notes on that. So if we would like to continue on this, then we could.
Member Keegan.
Yeah, I also want to mention that Mass General Law is also dictating and guiding this policy. And it's, if I'm remembering the conversation correctly, this is coming right out of the Massachusetts General Law. And so we can bring that next time, but the reference is there. So it's not just an aspirational that we want to be informed. I believe it's our duty to be informed, and it's our duty to approve things that are not unreasonable, I guess is the right way to put it. You know, but no, we are not coming up with curriculum. We are not choosing the books that are going into the classroom. We have nothing to do with that. And we really have no say on that. But we do have to approve if, like she said, if she decides she wants to cut science curriculum altogether because she wants to put all that time into reading, she would have to come to us and say, we'd like to do that. And we're gonna say, no, because that's breaking the law, right? So, but we have that input if she wants to do something crazy. We are the guardrails to when she wants to do something, you know, that's it.
I'm looking at what we cut to what we've created, and it's not tit for tat, and that's also Mass General Law too, based off of the old document that's been around since 1987 too, probably. But I mean, the committee authorizes and encourage. This says the committee itself will consider and officially adopt. Very different than authorize and encourage. So like we'll consider, like, again, that shows that we are overseeing curriculum. But again, I get the point. It's pretty much saying, superintendent, you could do, I read the first sentence of that, as you have the authority to approve new programs and courses of study, but we have the right to consider it. That's how I read it. Doesn't mean we will agree to it. We can consider it, but doesn't mean you can actually create it. That's how I'm reading that flow. But if the rest of the committee thinks this is okay, I'm good with moving forward. Oh, sorry, member Soros.
I also just want to say that we can check with Alicia Mallon at our next meeting, but I know many questions that we've had in these policies that were recommended by MASC and also in our own policies that we wanted to keep. Alicia Mallon has also contacted their legal department at MASC and has received recommendations or comments from them as well. I neglected to mention that when I said, you know, we were all in the meetings. She's also gone back to her legal department as well to double check some of these things.
Any other statements before I have a request of the subcommittee or to the superintendent, if possible? Can we have Lisa here at the next meeting?
Alicia, sure.
I'm sorry, Alicia.
That's okay. I knew what you meant.
I know Elisa Mallet, that's why I said that.
We can see if she's available, certainly.
Okay. I appreciate it. I'm good with this for now.
May I?
Yes, Mr. Bias, you have the floor unless there's deliberation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the next policy, Student Services Programs, file IGB, again, recommended adoption. The red line is just the title of the position. This is pretty straightforward. a policy from MASC that we have decided to officially recommend for adoption.
Just point of clarification to you, Madam Superintendent. The Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, could that title change next year? Could it change in 3 years? Could it change in 5? I mean, the mindset here is if we progress and grow, is it an opportunity for us to say, hey, another Assistant Superintendent could be doing this? Or will they always be called Assistant Superintendent of Student Services?
That update was recommended because the title was outdated for how we have grown as an organization, which is why that's the role that Gina's in, that's responsible for that. So I suppose if we grew and it would come under someone else's purview, that could be an update we could make. But it has been the individual in that role that has overseen and been responsible for this work.
Because I do see a note, district to identify appropriate administrator there. So I'm curious if we just inserted that because of the title that we currently have it as. So I would like, if we could potentially make it generic, because no offense, if Gina leaves tomorrow, like you might need a director level.
Oh, I see
to
what
take
you're
into
saying.
that role.
So in some of these, this is a good point that you bring up, Vice. So in some of the policies, we have put superintendent designee, so that the purview of selecting persons for whatever this job may be would be at the discretion of the superintendent.
I would recommend that, if that's a motion to take that.
Okay.
I can't make the motion, though.
I'll make that motion, Vice.
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion was to update the Assistant Superintendent of Student Services to Superintendent's designee
Yes.
on IGB Student Services Programs. Member Baez motioned it, and Member Soroy seconded it. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? Aye.
Thank you for that. The next file in the redlined version, IGD, has been, again, redline curriculum adoption. That's our original policy. So I assume that there's no questions on that since we already went through that. So the next one is health education. File IHAM, recommended adoption. As you can see, there was a significant red line in that second paragraph. Health education will be taught as a separate academic discipline in grades K through 6 and as a separate class in other grades. It was redlined due to our current practices that does not align with our current practices. Other than that, the policy is recommended by the policy subcommittee. I'll open it up to any questions on that.
Member
Donovan.
Donovan, go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. This is more of an observation. I know our health education is often, and rightly so, a hot button topic for some of our families. And there's always good conversation around it. Is there a reason why we don't include in these related areas that we also are, because sometimes I think families aren't aware that we also adhere to the state standards. It's not noted in any of this, and I just think it's an important thing, if it's going to be part of our handbook, that we are sharing with our families, that we are complying with the requirements of the state, which, especially since the health standards were really looked at last year or the year before. And it's more of a question to the subcommittee. It's not a make or break, but I just think it's something, it's always like, and here's the reason why we do it this way, because we are supposed to be in compliance. I don't know, it's the thought, and I'd be curious to think what you think, Dr. Golubsky.
I wouldn't be opposed to that, especially because I believe the state standards were referenced in IE, on the organization of instruction. So perhaps in some ways that covers the health education, but again, I don't think there's any harm in repeating that.
a suggestion, if you don't mind? Could it be part of our mission statement in the handbook that all the policies set forth are aligned to state and federal laws governed by Mass General Law, et cetera, something like that? A legal disclaimer?
Yeah, so Mr. Vice, all of our policies as the policies that we have looked at so far, is the better statement, they don't conflict with DESI regulations, so that would be an accurate statement to make in any of our handbooks or language.
So by the time we get through Z, we can make that disclaimer? Is that what can we generalize?
I'll make a note of that for
Thank you.
handbook.
Mr. Baez, all yours.
Thank you. So I'm assuming that there's no other questions on policy IHAM, health education.
I mean, I have one more.
Please.
And it's, why did we get K through 6 cut? Is it because of the budget?
Budget, yeah.
K through 4, yes. Last year.
Thank you. Okay. So, health education exemption procedure, IHAM-R. If you notice, the -R is in reference to that this is a policy directly from regulations, CMR. So again, this is recommended adoption. Since it is regulation, we didn't have it beforehand. Any questions about that? No? Okay. So file IHAMA, parental guardian notification relative to sex education. So this was just, we recommend the adoption of the MASC. The only major difference, if any, is just the legal references at the bottom. So no questions on that. File IHAMB, teaching about alcohol, tobacco, and drugs. This is a new policy that we would be recommending adoption. The only change was in that first bullet point, to prevent and or reduce alcohol, tobacco, and drug use among students and youth. The word delay was in the original policy, and it was the will of the subcommittee to strike the word delay to promote and encourage that our goal isn't to delay, but to prevent and reduce. But other than that, again, this is a pretty straightforward policy to recommend. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay. File IHB, special instructional programs and accommodations programs for students with special needs. We recommend adoption. This is a policy that we had intense discussion on, debate on. Most, if not all, of the language has been purposeful. We have checked the language with our legal department, MASC legal department, because there were significant changes to this policy. Part of that is in the third paragraph, not counting the stricken paragraph. The committee affirms that students with special needs are general education students first. That portion has been highlighted. That was discussed with legal in terms of if that language can be used. And it was the will of the subcommittee to use this language in light of the fact that it was more of a sentiment of where we stand as a community in terms of how we value all of our students, and that we do value all of our students. And so we just wanted to make sure that was language that was acceptable, which it was. And again, this is a policy that really took a long time to hone in terms of the language. And I'll open it up to any questions. And I'll give it a moment just to make sure.
I might have questions at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. So file IHBA.
Actually, I have one call out right now.
Please.
We scratched disabilities in several places, but added it in another place. Why would we do that? Should it be disability, or should it be special needs throughout? And I'm looking at the the second red paragraph, second line from the bottom. The disability is such that education is general education class. Severity of the disability, shouldn't it be severity of the special need, or should it just be nature of the special need? I mean, we've cut out disabilities throughout, and that's the one that I see left.
The disability is such, I see. So the stricken of disability throughout in a lot of these cases is students with disabilities. So there was a discussion about correct terminology and making sure that we're being respectful of all students. And so it was noted that special education isn't necessarily just for students with disabilities. There's some students that have conditions, or there are different just aspects of what special education encompasses. And so a lot of times what was stricken is students with disability, and in other terms, in this sentence specifically, only when the nature or severity of the disability. So I would be actually, now that you bring up that point, Vice, in favor of disability or other circumstances or whatever language we want to put in there. But that was the reason why disability was stricken in many cases, and perhaps not in this case.
Just because it's a removal, like meaning removal from general education environment, I would actually look to you guys to restructure that whole sentence, to be fair. Because, again, removing someone from general ed environment has its own policy and process, I thought, in its own self. And also, does this also align to like the policy that we passed last meeting on the restraint policy, which I would assume would have something to do with special instructional programs and accommodations? Wouldn't that have some sort of correlation? We're not even calling that out in here. So other policies that probably need to be called out need to be put in here too.
We'll take that into note.
Member Keegan.
Just to be consistent, Member Baez, I do notice, going off of what the Vice Chair said, that entire paragraph, the first sentence, the school committee recognizes that placement decisions for students with disabilities, it should be special needs.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I missed
correct.
that.
That is correct.
And so there's no reason not to change the bottom when the nature or severity of the special need is such that the education in the general education classes with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be achieved satisfactorily. There's no reason not to change that one also, just to be consistent.
So I will just make,
Go ahead.
I'll just make a motion to, in that paragraph, strike students with disabilities, insert students with special needs, and also strike, and then for now, we'll leave that sentence the way it is, and revisit it at a future date for the restructuring.
Go ahead.
Second.
Motion from Member Bias, seconded from Member Sorois. Any discussion on that? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Just one last thing, I just think that whole paragraph needs to be relooked at, and looked at what other policies need to be aligned to this to be tied into. So that's the only opinion I have on this for now. Member Baez, if there's no other questions?
Sounds good. The next policy, again, IHBA, Student Services Program. This is a MASC policy, straightforward, just pretty one-liner. So the next policy.
Sorry,
Yep.
the observation of special education programs, is that what we,
That's the next one.
oh, that's the next one.
Yeah, no worries. Yes, it is, actually. So we have Observations of special education programs, file IHBAA. It's a MASC model policy was updated. They recommended it, so we have rescinded, or we could recommend that we rescind ours and look at a combined version at the bottom, IHBAA, observations of special education programs. The line, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services, I'm sure we, as a committee, would want to change that. But that was one of the red lines. And then at the bottom, Assistant Superintendent of Student Services will communicate expectations to observers prior to the observation. That was really purposeful. And I would invite Member Keegan to talk up a little bit about the reasoning for that, because she was a great advocate in making sure that we were aligned with what was going on here.
Sure. So oftentimes, depending on the nature of the program, the presence of someone new could potentially dysregulate the students in the classroom. And so it's really important to explain that to parents up front, that, you know, if some situation happens while you're in the classroom, you may be asked to leave. And it's not a surprise to the parent if something happens, they're asked to leave, and that they're upset that their observation gets cut short or whatever. So we had spoken with at length about having something written, like in writing, of the procedures. And so the assistant superintendent was going to go back and write some sort of procedures and expectations so that the parents have it in writing prior to their observation. And so that's why it was in the policy that we expect that the assistant superintendent will communicate it, and it's now on the administration to create something that will be consistent across the district on how parents are expected to behave and what might happen during an observation.
Thank you for that explanation. Are there any questions to that?
Any questions? I think we got to go back and look at all of this, because especially with it, there's some, like, first paragraph alone says special education director, designee, and/or principal, and then we cut out special education director throughout. And then we've also agreed that assistant superintendent shouldn't be the title; it should be designee by the superintendent. So I think we should change that throughout this document, not just this policy piece, just throughout the whole document. And then I would love to know what reasons outlined within law and DESI regulations we would put in front of a parent under Section 3 of that, where if a parent or guardian requests to observe, we deny it? Like, what examples would we actually deny it based off of DESI regulation or law? Like, if a parent requests, we should be allowed to give them some time during the day to come in and see this, observe, in a gen ed statement or even in a special. I don't know why it would be even called out here that we would deny it.
Right, well, it specifically says we're only allowed to withhold it for reasons outlined in law.
You're calling out a law that there is no, what law? Like, that's the thing, what law outlined within law and DESI regulations? So I would think if we're calling out a law, we should name that law.
Yep, MGL 71B:3, right there. And the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education Technical Assistance Advisory, SPED 2009-2, dated January 8th, 2009.
Okay, but again, that's a law referencing what we're doing here. But you're not referencing like the reasons. You're referencing a law, but that's not the reason. That law is protecting those students, not withholding parents from observing. That law is supporting what we're doing here.
I think at the very end, there's a series of bullets there. The observation law states that districts may not condition or restrict program observations except when necessary to protect the safety of the students in the program, the integrity of the program during the observation, and students in the program from disclosure by an observer of confidential or personally identifiable information they may obtain while observing.
Who's the deciding factor of that? The superintendent of student services or the teacher?
I think that comes down to the same as number 8 when it's referencing if the presence presents a disruption. I think it would be up to the administrator in the building to determine whether it's disruptive or is compromising the safety of students.
So why isn't 8 with 3? Why do we have it as its own place? Because if I read that first, then you really don't need to say we would withhold approval, because this is now saying we will inform them not to interfere, and at that point in time, we would ask that they leave. And any future requests could be withheld due to law or DESI regulations. That's how I would perceive this going forward, instead of saying, well, we're going to deny it potentially, because no one should be denied. However, if an observer is found that they are interfering and they continue to interfere, then that could lead to being withheld the next time, potentially. But I wouldn't be like, right off the back, if I'm asking to observe, and I can't even get to that point, like, we could find a point in a day for a student to be observed. Member Keegan. Yep.
So, for instance, if a parent says, I want to come in and observe with the BCBA, my own home BCBA, my own home OT, and I'm going to bring a team of people in to observe, that could conflict with the integrity of the program by having that many people in the room at the same time. So that would be denied.
But you're not calling that out in this.
That's
It's-
just one example,
I'm just-
right?
but-
So depending on what the request is, if the request is, I, parent, want to go in and observe, then no, you're not gonna hit a law that says you can't go observe. If you say, I, parent, want to send a designee in to observe the program to determine its adequacy for my student, then no, likely you're not gonna find a reason under law. But some parents do ask for things that are going to affect the running of the classroom. And so yes, there are times that things will be denied based on what the request actually is.
But I don't look at that as a denial. If I say, hey, I want my doctor, my BCBA, my grandfather, my grandmother, that's we're not going to deny you the ability to observe. But we need to limit how many are in the classroom due to safety. We got to limit, if you want your doctor to come in or your BCBA, yes, you have to sign. I see this here. You have to sign. But if we're gonna say such approval will be withheld, then we should just merge all this together to give the examples up front before we go and say, well, we can withhold this for reasons by law and or DESI regulations. But we're not calling it out that there's a limit, because if there's a law or a DESI regulation, then that number should be listed. If it says that a parent and guardian does not have the right to sign a release to have someone in the room, then that should be listed on that. But we're not saying that. We're saying you have the ability to do these things, but it could be restricted based off of what you're asking. But that's not what the number 3 is saying. It is saying, I'm going to withhold the reasons outlined in law and DESI, your approval to observe. I'm not denying your approval to observe. I am catering to what you're requesting. However, we're limited by law on what you can do. And limiting it by 3 people is allowed in the room, or, you know, you're signing a release, I mean, you're contradicting some of the statement at the top, based off of what I'm being told over here on my right side. So I'm just saying, we need to, parents are gonna be by this if they read it this way. Because I'm getting a little, if I'm being told that I can be withheld from observing my child with special needs, no, that shouldn't be the case. But if I'm blatantly disruptive in the classroom, if I'm asking to bring my whole family in, and I'm asking, yes, I'm gonna release everyone there, and I'm not gonna be there, then yeah, that should be denied. But as a parent, I should be never denied the ability to see and observe in this case. Certain accommodations could be withheld. Certain accommodations can be said that we can't do that based off the environment. We can accommodate you and maybe one individual, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not withholding a deny, like this is saying I could be denied.
So could I just ask the acting superintendent to define the current practices and how things are done now so that we could all have clarity?
Please do, but that's current practice is being thrown out. This is the new policy. So
what comes to mind is the approval may be withheld. I think there may be a rare circumstance, certainly not the norm, where we may have a parent who is elevated about a situation, who we may perceive as not being, it might not be the best time for the parent to go to the classroom because they're elevated and we know or can infer that it would be disruptive or unsafe. So to withhold that visit or the observation during that time and schedule another time, I think might be within the right of the district or advantageous to all. And I think that's the reason why those bullets are broad. Because if we were to list examples, I worry that we might be held to circumstances that closely mirror what those examples are. But by referring to safety or integrity or the confidentiality of the students, those give us the umbrellas to protect the students.
Thank you. And can I just ask a question?
you have the floor. Go ahead.
Mr. Vice, to your point, I'm just wondering what your recommendation might be. Is it to just bring bullet point 8 to the front? Is it to merge point 3 or 8?
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to off-whim this. Like
Okay.
I said, I haven't had a chance to read through it. I haven't been able to write it up myself. I'm not going to just throw it out there. But I do think consistency needs to be done on this one right here alone, just on the title of the designee. And then I do think maybe a reshuffle of how it flows should be reconsidered. Because again, if you're calling out law and DESI regulations on this, and then you're saying, well, we may limit, if there's a limit by law, put the limit there. If there isn't a limit, then what defines me not being able to bring certain people in, or those, whoever those people are, in one time? That's what it says. So I would, if there's a law that calls that out, I would advise that we put that in.
Noted. So after that, you'd see our redlined guidelines for observations by parents and guardians or their designees. And so it was advised that we adopt the policy that we just went over and relocate the one that we currently have, which is procedural, to administrative procedures. And there's a few policies in here that you'll see the same where a lot of our policies are very specific, very procedural, and we were advised and consented to relocating some of those policies to handbooks or administrative procedures, and adopting a more broad version of policies that give somewhat latitudes to create those procedures, because it is not in our purview. So, compensatory education, Title I, file IHBD. This is one of those which, again, is a one-liner just affirming our commitment. And so, I don't believe there may not be questions upon this one, so I'll just move on. Multilingual learner education, file IHBEA. We recommend adoption, and so we had an extensive conversation on our current practices in terms of how we identify multilingual learners. We even had a not intense, but kind of thorough discussion on English learner versus multilingual learner based on, what there is in law, what there is in our policy and our handbooks, and what we want to represent as a district. And so after going through that, we decided that multilingual learner education can be recommended from the subcommittee and then obviously put forward to the full committee. And then on the bullet points, the district shall identify students whose dominant language may not be English through these bullet points. And then we had just redlined registration including, because these are, again, screeners and tools to identify students with multilingual, that are multilingual and merit services. We had discussions on some of the changes that DESE is rolling out in the future in terms of some of these tools that are used by districts to identify students and test them out of multilingual services and keep them in multilingual services. But again, those are the substantive changes and / discussions that we had as a subcommittee in terms of some of the purposeful language in here.
Member Donovan?
Yeah. I think this is an area where we can't be explicit enough in how we respond to students' needs, identifying students based on the requirements of DESE. And I think if we can be even a little more explicit, as I kind of suggested earlier, but putting in here somewhere that we, identified students will be assessed annually, blah, 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 in accordance to DESE regulations, or something as simple as that.
It's in the first paragraph.
It isn't, okay. But I don't know if that's, I'm sorry. I don't know if it's clear enough, given the confusion we seem to run into every year. I think sometimes we need to repeat ourselves in different ways, because it's such an emotional, important issue. Maybe we lay it out a little more, like parent checks something off, how you have to take the access tests. I just think being explicit in certain areas will only help us all.
I have a flow chart that we've created that I'll be sharing on Monday
Oh, good.
at the workshop, and can go on the website as well. I think that speaks more to the procedural part, and whereas this is the policy, only because as DESE updates their guidance, we update our practice.
Right.
So I would hate to be stuck in a bind between the two.
I get that. I'm wondering, though, if that flow chart belongs somewhere in the handbook. I mean, we can always yank it out since it's electronic, right? But I really think giving more information to families and our staff is really important.
Absolutely.
Don't think it belongs here, though.
Well, the handbook, since it's looked at yearly, I think would be more appropriate, whereas this policy might not be
Right.
revisited every year.
Right.
I would also suggest that we do it in our registration packet, in addition to the handbook, because I'm gonna be honest, the handbook is very long and no one reads it. So I would rather have it in a simple, when you're registering, very clear. If you state that your home language is something other than English, these following steps are mandated by law. Like, make it very, very in your face, blunt, but as part of that registration packet for the district, not just bury it in the handbook that nobody's gonna see.
And that is one of the recent upgrades that DESE has recommended on the home language survey, is that statement that clearly indicates if anywhere on this home language survey, there's a reference to a language other than English, your child will be screened. So we've updated our home language survey to reflect that, so it's right at the top, so people understand. But I like the idea of slipping in the flow chart as well.
Pretty sure that happened to me when I registered my daughter. So I'm pretty sure we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Any other questions on this? Moving on.
Thank you. Again, and Member Donovan, your concern is very important, and us as a subcommittee have ran into similar concerns in terms of what is procedural and what can be policy, and there can be very intense debate about that. So I look forward to seeing more thoughts on that. So homebound instruction, file IHBF. So this one was a policy that stayed with us for probably a month or two, just because we were considering the language on the first paragraph. For medical reasons and for a period of not less than 14 days. That sentence itself, 14 days, where there's a question about if it were in 14 days staggered or 14 consecutive days. And so after a review from legal counsel, it was a consensus that that language implied consecutive days. Or it did not, right? It did not. It did not, sorry. It did not. Which was an important point, and I would invite Member Keegan to speak on why that was such an important fact that we needed to look for.
Right, so it was my understanding that it was consecutive days, which would mean that if somebody is out of school for 14 straight days, then we were required by law to provide homebound services. That is not the case. If someone has a chronic illness and they're out of school for 14 staggered days and they have documented from a provider that the student needs to be out of school, then we are required to provide home tutoring as a district. And that is a large financial implication. And I double checked because it didn't say consecutive, and I wanted to put consecutive in there, and the law is explicitly not consecutive days.
Thank you. And again, the only other red line significantly is from medical doctor to licensed medical provider, just to make sure that we were taking doctor's notes or whatever, that were consistent with what we expect and our
As
standards.
well as mental health
Exactly.
professionals, that would cover them.
And so if it is the will of the committee, we would be adopting and rescinding our homeschooling policy. And then, homeschooling policy, and then adopting a new homeschooling policy. If there's no other things on homebound instruction, we could move on to homeschooling. And so we would be rescinding our homeschooling policy, IHBG, and adopting a new IHBG homeschooling, recommended adoption. And so this also sparked significant discussion. At the bottom there, that highlighted portion, a student residing in Methuen being educated in a homeschooled program within the district. So that was important to us because we wanted to identify if a remote learning academy was considered a homeschooled program or not. And again, keeping in lieu with consistency in our residency enforcement, with all of our policies that we currently have and are aligned with, we wanted to make sure that our policy was saying residing in Methuen. So I will open it up to discussion on that or questions.
I have one question for the superintendent. Are we on the hook for any financials for homeschool students?
No, so the homeschool students that we have that do participate in our extracurriculars, for instance, athletics,
Yeah.
we don't have them pay a fee for that. So that comes at a cost to the district because we're not collecting a per pupil rate from them for the state. But no, otherwise, no.
And that doesn't go towards our total student population either.
No. That's why in the highlighted line that's recommended, upon approval of the superintendent is important there because we do have homeschool families that will ask. I had one recently that asked for their students to attend half-day curricular programming and then go home for the latter part of the day. And so we have no funding from that pupil to support that. But it has been past practice for them to participate in athletics or extracurriculars. The point that Member Baez brought up about the online schools that are diploma offering, we have had some discussions with our council about that as to whether those students are able to participate athletically. And so that's a whole nother discussion with the MIAA involved as well. But I think that upon the approval of the superintendent is the important line there.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, go ahead, Member Bias.
Thank you. And so we are recommending file IHBGA. This is one of those procedural. We're recommending reallocation to the handbooks. I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
I'm not, I'm on alternative school programs now.
So before that, Mr. Vice, the one before that, there should be a redlined file.
IHBGA?
Yes, sir.
I did turn it over.
Yeah, so that's what we're proposing reallocation to the handbook as it seemed to be procedural and would also just be restating some of the things that in the previous policy.
What was the difference between homeschooled students versus homeschooling?
Homebound and homeschooling?
No. I'm looking at the red lines, IHBG and then IHBGA that we're striking from this.
So we've discussed that. What does extracurricular mean? Does extracurricular include athletics, right? And so part of the discussion is.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
see the bottom piece here. Okay, got it.
Thank you for the question. All right. So yeah, so we're proposing reallocation. And then the next file IHBH, alternative school programs. This is one of those MASC, commitment statements that just land out our commitments. But we recommend adoption. File IHBHE, remote learning. This one is one that we recommend adoption, but more so had a discussion on when we could adopt remote learning, what were DESE regulations and laws, and most importantly, who had the authority to announce an emergency. So if you look in the first paragraph towards the bottom, the remote learning plan below will be applicable in cases of disease, weather emergencies, destruction or damage to schools, rendering them inaccessible, or other extraordinary circumstances, including emergencies declared by government officials, the school committee, or the superintendent. Specifically, the discussion revolved around whether or not the districts needed to wait until DESE or other government officials described an emergency, or the superintendent in the school committee could. And so after that review, make sure that everything was in line. to recommend adoption. If there's no questions or anything to add on that?
I do.
Yes.
And again, I haven't read this yet, but remote learning, do we have anything that would have collective bargaining issues? If you were to say, hey, let's do the snow bags instead of doing a snow day, like that's what I'm looking at. I know some schools do remote learning days during snowstorms. Would we be adopting that into our policy, that instead of doing a snow day, it could be a remote learning day?
This, from my perspective, would be in an extenuating circumstance, such as the pandemic, when we needed the ability to go to remote learning. This would give us the leverage to do that. DESE does not allow us to count single snow days, remote learning days, as time on learning. But if by chance there ever were an emergency that required us to go to remote learning, and DESE had approved that that would be counted toward our learning hours, we would be able to do it this way. But they do not approve currently in Massachusetts remote days, unlike New Hampshire.
Yeah, so for instance, the marsh situation where we had no heat, or we have an AC issue, could we say the Timony or the Tenny are now on remote learning days?
No, because you're right, it's not in our CBA. We would have to, it would need to be an extended amount of time where I would need to have an agreement with the union that we're moving toward that.
Yep.
So what happened there is we filed for a waiver, and that's
yeah.
why we were granted.
I know.
So that's the current practice from DESE.
I just feel bad for a lot of the school districts this year, because we're stuck with
Yep.
the snow days as long as we were. All right,
Correct. You're not wrong. So summer schools, file IHCA.
oh, and one last thing, sorry.
No worries.
Cross-reference on the EBCDs, IGA, all these other listings on the second page is exactly what I'm kind of talking about for like the special ed comments I made earlier on, you know which one I'm talking about, team? Yep. That's
Yes,
what
I
I'm
have
looking
it.
for here, kind
Okay.
of thing, with references to other policies that should be referenced. That's exactly how it should look. And I think that's the first time I've actually seen it look like that, to be fair, in this. Observation of special education programs, IHBAA. Like that cross-ref only has K-1 visitors to schools. Like, we need to also talk about the other policies that it would interact with.
Okay.
Well, that's the first time I think I've seen it that much on this so far, that I've called it out. Thank you.
Noted. So summer schools, file IHCA. Recommend adoption. This was one that we held on to for quite some time as well, just to review simple language. So students at all instructional levels was stricken just because we had discussed our current practices and what we do offer in terms of enrichment programs. And I would invite the acting superintendent to talk a little bit more about that, on what we offer and why we wanted to make sure that we didn't include at all instructional levels.
Sure. I think the phrase at all instructional levels was a bit redundant, because the end of that sentence talks about summer school for remedial, enrichment, or makeup purposes. So we do have some credit recovery summer school courses running, but we also have enrichment programs as well for our transitioning ninth grade students. And so we just wanted to be sure that we were representing all of those offerings here.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. All summer programs will be subject to annual approval by the school committee. Is that from a budget perspective? Because I don't recall ever approving summer school curriculum or anything like that. Or like, yes, you can do summer school this year, not this year because of budget reasons. It's the
I
last
think that's
line.
part of the new addition. It might be nice for us to share with you what our plans are for our summer offerings. Seek your approval.
You want to put that much, all due respect, power onto the committee? Is that something that you're okay with? Because, again, all summer if we get a committee in 3 years that's like, oh, if we could save $1 million because of summer school programs, and all due respect, we say, nope, can't do it, how many students is that going to impact? Like, that's an impact to students and potentially graduation and or being held back. Like, that's curriculum, in my opinion. So I wouldn't want that line in here, to be fair.
I would be happy with presenting to inform.
Love that idea. So is there a motion to remove that last line?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I just had a question.
Oh, about
No,
that?
That's okay, yeah.
Oh,
I d-
sorry,
well,
you gotta, sorry, I like this line up, but I also don't see it unless you don't voice up. So, voice up, hashtag.
Dr. Golofsky, where did you want that to inform the school committee included in that last, change that last line?
That
I'm
was
not sure.
My motion was to remove the whole line, period.
Right, I understand that, but she said to inform, so I just wanted to
Okay.
know which way we're going, that's all.
That's a practice that we can provide without having it explicitly stated in the policy. I think that that's okay.
Sorry, you have the first and second on that motion?
We all voted that.
And we all voted, yeah, all right,
That line has been stricken.
thank you. Anything else on summer schools, Member Baez, or any questions or comments?
Not from me.
Moving on?
Sure. So this file IIB, class size related contractual clauses. This is the file that was referenced in public participation. The subcommittee recommends removal based on the outdated fact of the census and the fact that bargaining agreements change all the time. We didn't see in our discussions the necessity of this policy, and would invite if any other members had other reasoning other than this. Well, what I state is in terms of our official recommendation. But again, we didn't see the necessity of the policy, and also it's the outdatedness. We recommend removal. Any discussion on that?
I don't, but it's 8:54. And I think we still have 100 pages left of this thing. And this is why I kind of wanted time to review instead of asking questions and maybe coming prepared at the next meeting. I don't know what the will of the committee is. We can extend, or we can table and continue this conversation at the next meeting and review, and then again, schedule another special meeting to vote on the full approval, because I do think we should have the full committee here to be able to review it one full time and then a quick second to make sure all the checks and balances are in it. If not, I will entertain an extension, but again, there's a lot here.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
I just have a question.
Open for discussion, sure.
Sorry.
I'll go ahead, ask the, I mean, you're not supposed to, if someone doesn't mind removing,
I'll remove it. Removed.
thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I keep forgetting we're not supposed to discuss.
But I'll remove, if they'll remove it.
Yep,
and-
removed.
Okay, go ahead, member.
I just wanted to know, on Monday night, are we starting from the beginning again, or are we gonna continue from where we are? We're
I-
gonna start from the beginning?
I would recommend where we left off, which is going to be the instructional materials.
Okay, and then any questions you have to the ones prior to that, we can also discuss, but,
Again, I would like to see a clean copy of any of the changes
Yep.
before,
that we've made
So-
so far.
made so
Okay.
far, and then whatever changes we make too. And then my recommendation is to schedule another special meeting either before July 1st or right after July 1st
Okay,
to approve the full package. because at that point, it'll be a clean, and we'll all have opinions, and I think that will satisfy.
Perfect. I just wanted to see
anyone's
where we were gonna
concerns.
continue, so we're all on the same page and where we're continuing on Monday.
But again, it's the will of the committee, not the will of me.
I'm sorry, you can make your motion.
So if you guys want to vote for the whole thing on next Monday, you're welcome to do so. But again, I think it would be best if we pick off where we're left off and then clean it up. So,
Motion to table.
Second.
roll call, please.
Chair DeZoglio?
Yes.
Donovan Grassi, yes. Baez?
Yes.
Keegan?
Yes.
Costa Gomez?
Yes.
Gillette? Vaughn? And that's unanimous.
All right. I know we're any business from the committee.
Yes, I have something.
Anything that should be extending the time.
No, very quickly.
Go.
Dr. Globsky, could you please tell us whether or not the posting for Monday's meeting was done within the 48-hour time frame, or anything that would make an open meeting violation for us holding the meeting Monday night, please?
No, it was done in time.
Based off of yesterday, correct?
Including the executive
Yesterday.
session.
I did both at the same time.
Okay,
Yeah, I emailed them to the city at the same time.
okay. So, because tomorrow doesn't count,
Right.
going forward, if we can, just proper meeting hygiene. I'm not sure if anyone's ever said this to you, but if we could post the actual stamped version of the meeting onto the website, that would be great. And, or
Okay.
at least a copy of it somewhere, so we have it, because that is technically the stamp posting is actually what should be posted to everyone, being us and on the website. The same thing goes for the council. They post the stamped one once it's completed, right on the bulletin board and post it on the website with the
Okay.
packet.
So our stamped ones are also on the bulletin board at City Hall.
Yep.
And so I can add another link, but in order to keep the hyperlinks, I'll have to have both.
But they send that back to you, the copy of the stamped, correct? Yes. Okay, so I just want to make sure in case any questions come up for the next meeting. Yes.
Very quickly, just double check with that, Lisa, because I believe we never included it because it wasn't, it has to be physically printed and then sent to City Hall. They send back a document that we copy off of their email, and I don't know if that can be linked like all the other attachments to be linked. I'm just not sure how that works, because I feel like we couldn't do that before, once we started doing it with the documents.
I
in
think
the-
I can just have
could
both. I
scan
can
it.
have a linked agenda with all the hyperlinks, and then I can have another
Just a
with just the
separate.
stamp plain.
Perfect.
Motion
Just-
to. Sorry, it's 9. It's 9.
Oh, okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It is 9 o'clock exactly. Thank you very much. This meeting is adjourned.